I realized if it's meant to be, it's up to me. If like, why am I putting the responsibility of changing the world in the hands of these farmers who have already got a really hard job? We need more people to get into this.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Carnivore Revolution. Today I have with me my friend Rory Bland from Rory's Kitchen. Rory and I have been friends since December. Rory is a tech pro, a social media whiz, a former vegan who started the Carnivore Diet, the Lion Diet, the GAPS version of the Lion Diet, for 30 days to heal his eczema and gut issues back in December, and is still working on adding some foods in and trying to figure everything out. So Rory, if you'll just start with your story, I like for people to hear where you come from, what kind of life you had, and how the diet has worked for you so far.
Totally. Thank you for having me on again. I'm very excited. A lot has changed since we first spoke, and it's crazy to think that it was December. So it's been like 8 months since I started this animal-based carnivore type journey. And it has been literally, I'm sure it sounds like a broken record because everyone says it all the time, but it's been the most transformational thing that I've done for my health in the past 14 years. So I'll jump into the quick version of it for people, but basically I've had health issues I'm 33 now, live in Brisbane in Australia, but I've had health issues for 3 decades and I'm 33. So a lot of people are like, oh, you're so young. Like, how can you have health issues? Well, it's a fact of life these days, unfortunately. There's a lot of people with chronic issues. I started out with having my adenoids removed. I had grommets put in. I had a lot of ear infections. I was an asthmatic from about, I think, 2 or 4 years old. I can't remember. And it just kind of all went from there. I was on antibiotics quite a lot, preventatives, steroids, Ventolin, inhalers for years. I had a lot of gut troubles over the years, a lot of tummy bugs, low immune system. I'd always catch everything going around. And that was kind of it for, from about 4 till 13 to 16. I was just really low health. I'd have bronchitis sometimes. I'd go to the hospital quite regularly with asthma attacks. It was really fun. And then it all kind of stopped around the time I was 16. And except the acne began as a teenager. So I had acne, and it just totally tanked my self-confidence. Or it revealed to me the self-confidence issues that I already had. Let's kind of say that. Because you shouldn't be affected by your skin typically. Like, it comes from within is what I've learned as an adult. But back then, my self-confidence tanked. And I went on Roaccutane, which is a very powerful drug to remove acne, which is absolutely dreadful for you. Side effects are horrendous. But it cleared my skin. So nothing really happened for a bit. Then my dad died of a heart attack. He was 46 years old. So when I was 17. And then I went into a yoga retreat because I wanted to get away from the death metal and the heavy drinking and doing drugs and that kind of lifestyle. And I was like, I need something different. And I was vegetarian at this point as well. So like, I just wanted to just get away from this hardcore lifestyle. And I went vegetarian to impress this chick I met on MySpace. And then eventually found the ethical side of things. So that was kind of like this intense part of my journey. And then the next phase, I moved into this yoga retreat, shaved my head, went vegan, and took a spiritual name, wore all white. And I lived in there for about 8 months. And it was an amazing experience. However, within 3 months, I started to experience low energy. And my low energy just got worse and worse. So I went to the doctor. They gave me iron, B12, didn't do anything. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I have to have yogurt. Maybe I have to have honey, something like that, animal products. That didn't do anything because the diet that I was having was, it's a vegan diet. It's an ashram Indian type diet, rice, dal, vegetables, very heavy on the grains, the carbs, all those sorts of things. So, and someone who already had an inflamed, leaky gut, autoimmune stuff at that time, but didn't know. It's the worst thing you can give to someone, in my opinion, an experience. So I just kept getting worse and worse to the point where I was like, I don't really know what to do. Then I saw an expensive raw food naturopath who got me on spending hundreds of dollars a month on supplements plus raw food. Just kept getting worse. Left the ashram, ate meat for the first time in like 20 months. And I felt a lot better, but I still hadn't resolved these issues of candida, of joint pain that was slowly starting, brain fog, low energy, mood swings, emotions, like it just kind of started to stack. I was inclined towards this plant-based way of eating because for me, ethically, it seemed superior to everything else. And also I was like, well, I don't want to impact animals. It seems like the best thing for my health, because this is when the plant-based vegan raw food thing was really picking up a lot of steam. And it was really like that whole raw food green smoothies phase. And it just seemed to me like the smartest thing to do in terms of health, until I came across so, like I was I found a way to manage my symptoms, basically, like all these things. And I found a way to manage it mostly within a plant-based type thing, but I never resolved the underlying issues, and they just started to get worse and worse. So in 2000, but I didn't want to veer away from the plant-based thing, because I'm someone who's very compassionate. I'm very much care about the environment. I care about animals. And I thought maybe I can just give this vegan thing a go one more time. Despite the joint pain, despite all the issues that I was having, let's just give it a go. And I've always been skinny, right? I've always been a skinny dude. And I thought maybe if I can prove to people that there's nothing wrong with plant-based, because I was trying to prove this to people. And then, yeah, I did that I was vegan for about 18 months. I was about 22 pounds stronger than I am, was doing CrossFit and everything like that. And I was big, but my health issues were still there and they were getting worse. So it was like this progression of like, I kept trying this thing that wasn't actually working. And I didn't realize why really until I guess, November last year is when I started this whole meat-based, carnivore, animal-based journey. And I'd seen a lot of videos online, as we all have, Michaela Peterson, Paul Saladino. It wasn't really the animal-based stuff that, stuck with me. It was like the seed oil type stuff that I was really interested in from his. It's like, so it was like these new pieces of the puzzle came in, and I was like, okay, well, if someone has extreme autoimmune issues, and I've only got mild in comparison, if they can heal on a meat-based diet, eating only meat, and if all I can really eat now without reacting, because I'd done gluten-free, done dairy-free, I'd cut everything out under the sun, I was still reacting to all these foods. If the only thing that I could eat was meat, then why don't I just eat that? So did that, jumped into it. I posted a video. I was like, I did the line diet for 24 hours. And it was kind of like a joke, because you see those videos where they try diet for 24 hours, but it was also semi-serious. And I felt amazing. And I was like, I might just do this for 30 days, see how we go. Then it just all happened from there. And it wasn't just like a carnivore focused thing. It was like carnivore plus with the principles of the GAPS diet. So the meat stocks and eventually the probiotics and stuff. But yeah, that changed my life. And I'd say 95% of my issues are gone.
I know you said when you were vegan and vegetarian too, it was like for ethical reasons, like, you found that after the chick, of course, but still the ethical reasons were still there. So, and I'm sure you get a lot of these comments now, and I get them all the time about stop killing animals, blah, blah, blah. But those people really don't realize the amount of animals, the smaller animals, but animals nonetheless, animals that they would lobby for, die in the process of industrial agriculture. So what do you say to those people, since you come from that to begin with?
I literally responded to a comment about that this morning. So it was, I think it was on Jesselyn's post, and she posted about, I could never give up red meat. I'm like, me either. And then someone said, what about the killing the animals? And I'm like, well, just started talking about the fact that through my research, I've realized there's no such thing as a bloodless diet. Animals die for people to have their fake burgers, right? And for people to have plants, because there are small animals. I'm the owner. I'm not the owner, but I have 2 pet rats. I'm a rat daddy. So to me, those are animals, right? I care about animals very, very much. And when people realize that, there is no such thing as a bloodless diet, then it becomes about where is the least impact as possible? Where is the least impact? And would you prefer to kill like 100 cute little small rodents, or like maybe a couple of cows a year? So it's like, I don't know. I think the more you go into the rabbit hole, the more you realize, hang on, I think maybe this whole plant-based agenda, great intentions for the most part, but it's going about it the complete wrong way. And it took a while for me to come to terms with that. But when you come to terms with it, it's just like, okay, no worries. Cool.
And I hear you have good news on the home front. You, first of all, have been doing a lot of research on regenerative farming and are actually starting your own farm. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's going to be a really big journey. But for me, I've always been interested in the environment and doing things positive for the environment. That's where like the whole veganism thing was partly from. And I've always been interested in farming and like, because I've worked around farms, I've done fruit picking seasons and that sort of thing. But I've never really, like, I tried the homesteading thing, but for me, it was too small a picture, just growing plants and being self-sufficient. And this was before carnivore. And I was like, yeah, it's not really, something about it wasn't working. And I realized that my homesteading efforts, the reason it kind of like failed was because I didn't have this animal piece, this animal agriculture piece. And I didn't know what I know now about regenerative farming and regenerative agriculture, right? So basically, sorry, this is a bit of a tangent, but basically, like, I realized that we have less than 55 years worth of growing food left on the planet, 55 years worth of topsoil. And whether you eat animal products or plant products, that's extremely concerning, because you've got like, what happens in year 56? Basically, it becomes like a dystopian movie, where there's a dust bowl and everyone dies. Like, that's the future we're living into. And I was like, holy moly, why is nobody talking about this? And I went down this rabbit hole of information, learning about regenerative agriculture and how literally it is the number one thing that can be done to turn around climate change, and all these other issues. And if we're not supporting regenerative, then we're supporting typically degenerative. So sustainability is not enough now. It has to be agriculture that supports the regeneration of the soil and land. I looked into it further. There are a few things that stood out, like syntropic agroforestry, which is basically like food forests. And then, ranching was the other thing that really stood out to me. And I looked at the way that it's done in Australia, looked at the way it's done in America. And I think there's only there's only a couple of really true regenerative farms that produce on big scales here in Australia, which, they're slowly moving towards it. But I realized if it's meant to be, it's up to me. If like, why am I putting the responsibility of changing the world in the hands of these farmers who have already got a really hard job? We need more people to get into this. And with my ability to, I've got a background in social media, and through the process of, me documenting my journey, grew a lot of following. And I was like, what if I use this skill that I've got of building attention and built it around something rather than just my own health journey, but built it around rebuilding the soil, around animal agriculture, around farming in this sustainable, regenerative way? Maybe I could really make some waves in this world. So, since doing this meat-based journey, it's like, I think this is a big part of where my personal purpose lies, is in farming. And I never thought it would be in something like that, but it just makes so much sense. And so, now my goal, now that I've healed, like, for the most part, like, I've got the foundations of this diet that's working really well. I'm trying to introduce foods here and there, pumpkins, zucchini, all this sort of stuff, like, but still 95, 99% meat space most days. But it's like, now that I've got my health that I've been trying to solve for like 13, 14 plus years. So what do I do with my life? I'm like, I think I want to build regenerative farms. I think I want to really get into regenerative agriculture and be directly responsible and indirectly responsible for regenerating millions of acres of land around the world. So not just me in a little homesteading thing, which is still very impactful, but how do we go big? And so that's what a part of my next journey is around regenerative agriculture, starting my own farm. I don't know, Rory's farm, we'll call it for now, and then like documenting the journey from scratch of absolutely nothing, have zero experience with ranching at all, to building a ranch, and then to building businesses off the back of that put money back into the soil. Basically, like, if anyone's familiar with Mr. Beast or these big YouTubers, just build as much attention, get as much money as possible from however it takes, and then put it into farming and regenerative agriculture. And so that's like my new goal. And I'm really excited. I'm nervous as heck, because I know that it's going to just take away, not take away, but it's going to require a lot of attention. building a farm. It's easy on social media, cooking, and then you're done. Make a recipe video. But then when you've got a farm, you've got to think about these animals 24/7. But I just feel like if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And so now this is this new journey of like building a closed loop system with regenerative farming. So not just, meat, but also organs to people, also, jerky, biltong, just everything that would come from within my own ecosystem, just kind of building from there. So yeah, that's been talking a lot, but that's my new journey. And it kind of unlocked for me when I saw, like, I would pray to God when I had health problems. I'm like, whatever it is that's going to help, I promise I would do this. And then God gave it to me. It's like meat. I'm like, maybe something else? Meat. I'm like, all right, yes, sir, I got it. And here we are.
I think it's amazing. And I can't wait to hear how it goes. Do not forget us little people when you're out busy doing that. And then if you had one piece of advice for somebody who was new or somebody who was in your position, having things like eczema issues and gut issues and things like that, what would that one piece of advice be?
Yeah, I forgot about the skin stuff. See, when you start talking about it from 8 months ago, I forget what problems I had now because I don't have them. It's crazy. My first piece of advice is start cutting out the things that aren't working. Like not everyone can go cold turkey and be disciplined with this sort of thing. A lot of people have to tether or titrate or whatever the thing is, like ease into it. So start finding your way to easing in, right? Meat stock, which is like short cooked bone broth for about 2 to 3 hours max. Incredibly underrated and beneficial for your gut and healing your gut. So I would focus on loading up on that, drinking like a quart or a liter a day. Just smash that out as you're beginning, or as you can tolerate, because some people are a bit sensitive to it initially. So start with meat stocks and then just like jump into giving it a crack for 6 weeks. Whether it is carnivore, whether it is animal-based, whether it is GAPS diet, carnivore GAPS, like whatever it is that you're wanting to. It seems like carnivore's got a pretty sweet spot and, and helps a lot of people as an elimination diet, because then you can figure out if you want to stay there or if you want to add things. I think just commit for like 6 weeks and just see how you go. Get the support of incredible people like Serena, people like myself, just like connect with people around this space and just get support, because it's hard when you're doing it on your own and no one supports you and is against you for whatever reason. They don't want to see you be healthy. It's super weird. Get away from those people. Just kidding. But like, you want to be around supportive people, right? So, slowly work your way in. Add meat stocks in. Gut health is important. So finding a probiotic source, whether that is through yogurt, kefir, raw animal dairy products, or even probiotics, just those things, and just give yourself 6 weeks, see what happens and changes in your life, and then kind of take things from there. But you're worth it. Like, why put off your health? You've put it off for this long. Literally, if you don't have your health, you've already got nothing to lose.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rory. It is always such a pleasure to hang out with you.
Likewise, it's a blast. So yeah, catch you soon.
Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time here on the Carnivore Revolution.